So, fun fact, back in the day when I was choosing colleges, I wanted to go to Boston University. Boston University was my first choice by a mile and a half, but I did not come from a family that had a lot of money, and unfortunately, originally, BU came back with a really crappy financial aid package. And so my parents basically sat me down and said, Carlin, we can't afford to send you to Boston University, and we want you to go to the University of Connecticut instead. And I wasn't entirely sure exactly what the appeal of UConn was. I had applied there as like a safety school, and of course I got into their honors program and all that good stuff. And I really didn't want to go, but my parents made me go and visit out in the middle of, it is literally in the middle of nowhere, and they were really pressuring me to sign on the line to go there when Boston University came through with a significantly better financial aid package. And so I ended up spending 4 years in Boston at their College of Communication instead. I had a great time. I have never looked back until this past, couple of days when they donated, Jack from Twitter donated $10 million to BU for this anti-racism thing. That's a whole other story. But the reason I bring this up is I was looking today at the tuition and fees for UConn, what it costs to be a UConn student right now. And ironically speaking, the in-state portion of what it costs to go to UConn now for an in-state student is actually roughly what it costs for me to go to Boston University back in the day, which is a private school, so it doesn't have in-state and out-of-state stuff. And so I find that a little ironic. Look at this. Out-of-state tuition for UConn, $37,000. $37,000 just for tuition. And then when you add in room and board and fees, $53,000 to go to the University of Connecticut. For in-state, it's a little bit less, $14,000 for tuition, but when you add in all that other stuff, still up over $30,000 a year, which is insanity. But I bring this up because $20,000 of that is about to go to Robin DiAngelo, our favorite racist, anti-racist trainer. UConn will pay white fragility author Robin DiAngelo $20,000 to train school administrators. The 3-day retreat will help 44 top officials come to grips with the critical questions of racism and inclusion. And I'm doing this on the fly, but let's just do some math here. So this is $20,000 divided by 44 people. So that is, $450 a person for training on how to be a better racist. I don't even know. So we're going to read this article from Reason.com about what the holy hell a public school that charges its in-state students $31,000 a year and its out-of-state students $53,000 a year, what they're going to be learning from Robin DiAngelo that would be worth $20,000 of those students' money. We're going to talk about that in a sec, but first we got to get our housekeeping out of the way. Folks, I'm really trying to grow the channel. If you like what I'm doing, if you like the content I'm bringing you and my perspective, please consider subscribing, turning on those notifications, giving the video a thumbs up. Roughly about 50% of you watching this right now are subscribed to my channel, so I'm really hoping to, earn the subscription of the other 50% of you. If you have thoughts about the type of content you would like to see me cover that would entice you a little bit more, leave it in the description below. I'm always looking for other ideas and other topics to explore. All right, let's read this article from Reason.com. The anti-racism consultant Robin DiAngelo is having quite a summer. Her 2018 book, White Fragility, shot to the top of the New York Times bestseller list after the death of George Floyd brought renewed public attention to racial issues. She has also come under considerable and well-deserved criticism for her suffocatingly radicalized worldview, which reduces every person to a color and posits that their interactions with people outside their race will necessarily be fraught and painful. John McWhorter, a professor of linguistics at Columbia University, called White Fragility a racist track that diminishes Black people in the name of dignifying us. And if you haven't seen John McWhorter's thoughts about White Fragility, I highly recommend him. I have a lot of respect for him. I really appreciate his perspective. Let's see. He was one of many negative reviews to come DiAngelo's way this year. A New York Times article pointed out the absurdity of one of the central tenets of white fragility training, that positive traits like hard work, individualism, and valuing the written word are characteristics of white culture. Other things you need to know about this book, and I have done several videos about white fragility on this channel, is that Robin DiAngelo seems to think that all white people think exactly the same way. She references it many times in the book. She calls it the white mind. The white mind thinks this, and the white mind thinks that. Of course, she has absolutely no research to back any of this up at all. The sources that she uses throughout the book are very, very, very sparse. In fact, there are 2 chapters in the book, in the ones in which she's primarily talking about how she does her training. There are 2 chapters that have 0 sources. 0 sources. So this is stuff that she's literally making up, and for some reason, people have bought into it and are paying $20,000 to bring her to campus. You might think such strongly expressed concerns about her underlying outlook and method would prompt a university to think twice about hiring DiAngelo to train its staff. You would think so. In most other circumstances, university officials would denounce and flee from a book that has a racist track. Tulane recently canceled the talk by an author whose clearly anti-racist book was unfairly accused of being racially harmful. But this fall, the University of Connecticut plans to send 4 dozen top administrators to a 3-day workshop where they will study anti-racism under DiAngelo's tutelage. For her services, the author will be paid $20,000. You know, recently, Chris Rufo, who is a journalist out of Seattle, discovered that there was a nuclear facility, a government-run nuclear facility, that had its top executives go through a similar 3-day training. And I covered it on this channel. He's done interviews about it extensively. I mean, this is like brainwashing boot camp for these people. 3 days doing this? Guys, go watch my old white fragility videos, because I spent about 4 hours reading half of white fragility, and this is not a lie. I'm not making this up. I descended into madness in the reading of this book because it is so, so, so insane. I can only imagine that 3 days, 3 straight days, which is a long retreat anyway. I really don't ever like doing retreats that are more than 2 days. 3 days is almost untenable under the best circumstances. But 3 days with this crazy woman telling you that you're just a racist because you're white and you will never not be a racist because you're white. I once got an email from a woman who was forced to do some of this white fragility training, and she said to me that she actually got depressed. She got clinically depressed after she read White Fragility and had to do this training because she was convinced that she was a racist, that she was never going to be able to change, and she had mental health problems because of it. This is insanity. This is not making things better. This only makes things worse. Let's keep going. The high price tag is not surprising. News reports have already revealed that DiAngelo and other diversity lecturers often charge in the $10,000 to $15,000 range for a few hours of work. She even charges $320 per hour for a phone call. Teaching white corporate executives, school officials, and nonprofit employees to reflect on their whiteness affords them great advantages and contributes to systemic inequities. It is a lucrative enterprise for DiAngelo. Now, I'll tell you this. What she's charging is not out of the realm for corporate training. It is, and I said that. I remember when Tucker Carlson did a segment talking about how Robin DiAngelo got paid $6,000 for an hour. I was like, she didn't get paid $6,000 for an hour. She got paid way more than that, unless her agent really, 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 really sucks. That is the only way that Robin DiAngelo only got paid $6,000 for for is if her agent really sucks, because that's very, very low. So these $10,000 to $15,000, that's much more in the range that I would see for normal corporate training. I mean, I've said publicly, because, if you guys don't know my background, I do corporate training, I do communications training, mindfulness training, all sorts of different types of training in the work environment, so I know how this stuff is priced out. I've said repeatedly, I charge $400 an hour for just off-the-cuff phone calls like this, or general hourly work. I charge anywhere from my half-day workshops start at $8,500. My full-day workshops start at $12,500. So this is right in line with what corporate training is. And I should also say too, it's not at least when I do it, all of my training is customized to the clients. So it's not just an hour. It's not just, kind of a pre-put together presentation and I go in and do it. There is actually a lot of prep work and a lot of debrief work that goes into it. But from what I understand, she's taking just package trainings that she's already gotten put together. I don't think she's doing any customization. I don't think she's doing any other additional work. To the best of my knowledge, if you guys know differently, please tell me, because I'm really trying to understand these trainings. So she really is charging an arm and a leg for stuff that's not very hard, that she's already got created. And the thing of it is, too, is I still think, based on the fact that her book has been on the New York Times bestseller list for God knows how long, I still think these numbers are low. I don't fully buy into these numbers. I think she's making more than this. Anyway, let's keep going. The problem here isn't that DiAngelo is coming to speak. Public universities can and should use some of their funds to bring interesting speakers to campus, even if their ideas are thought to be harmful. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about bringing a public speaker to campus for the students. We're talking about someone coming in to hold their executive team hostage for 3 days and to try to convince them that they're racist. That is, after all, one of the points of having a university, to consider and debate controversial ideas. People who disagree with DiAngelo's ideas should not be afraid of having her share them in a forum where she can be heard, challenged, and rebutted if necessary. This is also true. Except that this is not what happens when Robin DiAngelo does trainings. In fact, go look on YouTube, guys. Go find any debate that Robin DiAngelo has ever done. She does not allow herself to be challenged. And in her book, what happens if you challenge the principles of her book that she has no sources for is she says, that's just further evidence of your white fragility. Robin DiAngelo does not put her ideas out there to be challenged, though. I have never, to this day, seen her participate in any debate with anyone who disagrees with her. It simply does not happen. But DiAngelo will not be speaking in a public forum. Aha! Thank you, Reason.com. She will not address students directly. Critics will only be able to engage her ideas in secondhand form after they have been put into practice by administrators who set the rules regarding how people are allowed to interact with each other on campus. DiAngelo is not going to UConn to engage in the give and take of ideas. She is training the university's employees with the explicit expectation that they will put her recommendations into place. This is another thing that comes up in her book an awful lot, where she says, well, these organizations brought me in because I am the expert, and of course they should be listening to everything that I am saying, and I don't even know why they would possibly question my ideas. She says that throughout the book. She definitely has that expectation that what she says will absolutely be implemented and no one should question her, and if they question her, it is just further evidence of their white fragility. UConn President Thomas Katsoulis says as much in a press release, though he put it rather differently. The retreat will help university leadership come to grips with the critical questions of racism and inclusion and to bring these insights back to our campus. Beware the new insights of the campus speech cops. Let's just take a look at this press release real quick. And I haven't looked at this, I have no idea what it says, but let's just see. To the UConn community, we write to you at both a defining moment for our country and a time of momentous opportunity for our university. This summer, the United States has witnessed the largest demonstrations in our history, blah, 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 blah. Oh God, here we go. It's already in the first paragraph. In cities and towns in support of a clear and focused demand for justice and a sustained recognition that we cannot, through inaction, allow the status quo to persist. Such silence is violence. Are words also violence, UConn president? Can you have both? Are you even an intellectual at this point? Are you able to think for yourself? Because based on this first paragraph, I'm going to say clearly he's become a pod person. Although we haven't been able to be physically present on campus since March, we are proud to note that UConn students and faculty have not shrinked from this historic moment, joining protests and efforts at reformative justice in their hometowns. Are you proud of them for burning stuff to the ground as well, I wonder? And participating in innovative online and remote initiatives aimed at righting long-standing wrongs. As a major research university, we have an additional special role to play as we bring this striving for justice into our historic missions of teaching and research and incorporate it into our daily lives on campus. At UConn, we have committed ourselves to matching our words with concrete, real-world actions that touch on every unit and facet of the university. Oh, good. So UConn's going to be, for the bargain price of $53,000 a year for out-of-state students, $31,000 a year for in-state students, UConn is going to be indoctrinating you into the social justice, religion, ideology, cult, who knows. One example of this commitment is a professional development retreat scheduled for the fall for 44 top leaders of the university with Robin DiAngelo, the anti-racism scholar, the scholar who doesn't use sources in her work, whose White Fragility has become a much-discussed book. During this moment, this retreat will help university leadership come to grips with the critical questions of racism and inclusion and to bring those insights back to our campus. Another example is the new university course on anti-Black racism that will be offered starting fall of 2020, following the success of the spring 2020 course launched in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Why are you launching a course in anti-Black racism in response to COVID? I digress. While not a required course, it garnered the largest enrollment in the history of the university, and we expect and fully encourage the entire community to repeat that embrace of this new course. I mean, I actually have no problem with offering a course. If people want to sign up for that course, knowing exactly what it is and exactly what will be taught, it's a free country, man. Sign up for whatever course you like, whatever. Most importantly, the design of this course and its implementation has been led by faculty and staff who are scholars and thought leaders on campus to ensure we are highlighting the work of those already providing voices to the issues at UConn. That paragraph says literally nothing. This is what we do best as a university. We teach and we learn. Through education and scholarship, we address the needs of our students to understand and conceptualize the world around us, empower them with that knowledge, and address the misperceptions that underlie bias and bigotry. You know why I hate reading these things? They literally all sound the same. Every single one of them sounds the same. They sound exactly the same. It's like, it really is. I'm not actually being facetious when I say pod person, because it's like some being crawls into these people's brains and takes them over, and all of a sudden they start using the same words and the same language and they all start sounding like robots. Alright, they're doing some other stuff too, blah 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 blah. The high-level goals are adding significantly to the diversity of faculty and staff. Yeah, good luck with that, UConn, because I've been to your campus. You're in the middle of nowhere. Good luck with that. Supporting an ecosystem to confront difficult truths and promote important conversations about race and identity. Adding training that focuses on racial literacy and responsive approaches for managers and leaders. Oh, Jesus Christ. See, I have absolutely no problem with colleges offering courses and things. If people want to sign up for those courses, if there's a market for those courses, because they probably already been brainwashed in high school, fine, whatever. It's if you want to sign up for a course to be told that you're racist over and over and over again, that is your business, man. I'm not going to get in the way of that. But when you're forcing, you know what a lot of people don't realize is that universities don't just have faculty and students. They have thousands of staff members. People who just have normal jobs. They may be administrators or assistants or marketers or IT people or research people or people working in the cafeteria. There are so many just normal everyday people that work at universities that are going to have to go through this nonsense because the universities wants to, virtue signal to the community. Whatever. I think this is stupid. If I was a student at UConn and I was paying either $31,000 or $53,000 for oh god, you even had health insurance in here. Look, $56,000 or $34,000. I'd be kind of pissed that the university chose to spend $20,000 of my money on Robin flippin' DiAngelo. I would be annoyed. Universities spend a lot of money on a lot of really stupid nonsense. If you ever saw the marketing budget for any major university, you would roll over. The founders of that university would roll over in their graves if they knew how many millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars the average university just spends on brochures and videos and all this stuff. It is insane. I worked in this industry for 10 years, so I know how much they're spending. But I think that this is irresponsible. If you're going to bring a speaker to campus like Robin DiAngelo, have her ideas challenged. Give people a chance to ask her questions. I guarantee those 44 administrators ain't gonna be asking any questions in that training, and if they do, Robin DiAngelo is gonna be like, "You brought me to campus for my expertise. I don't know why you aren't listening to me and taking advantage of this wonderful opportunity to learn from me, a racist white lady that is going to teach all of you how to be racist as well." I don't get it. Alright guys, that's all I've got for this one. Whatever. I'll see you soon.